Can you beat SnowRunner with only one truck? If you want the short answer, it's yes, you can. If you want the longer answer, let me explain which trucks you could use and how I decided that. In order to determine what trucks can achieve this, we can start off by looking at what you actually need to complete every mission in the game. Technically, all you need is the ability to equip the Seismic Vibration Module, Log Carrier Front and Trailer, High Semi-Saddle, a Crane, and either Short and Medium Log Carrier add-ons or the Logging Trailers. If we filter all 99 vehicles in the game at time of recording down to those that meet this criteria, we have 21 left. The Azov 5319, 64131, and 73210, Very Special 15C177, Freightliner 114SD, both the GMC 8000 Brigadier and MH9500, International Paystar 5070, Kenworth C500, T880, and W990, KRS 58 Bandit, Mac Defense M917, Pacific P512 PF, Royal BM17, Step 39331 Pike, both the Tega 6436 and 6455B, the Western SAR 47X NF 1430 and 49X, and the Zix 612H Mastodon. All of these vehicles can theoretically complete every mission on their own, but some of them will be really quite impractical, as realistically you do also need the low saddle, and certain parts of the game would be rather painful without all-wheel drive and diff locks and the option for chain tyres. Adding these to the requirements brings us down to 12 trucks: the Azov 5, Azov 6, Azov 7, Freightliner 114, GMC Brigadier, GMC MH9500, Paystar 5070, Kenworth C500, Mac 917, Tega 6436, Tega 6455B, and Zix 612H. All of these vehicles are actually viable options for your only truck, but surprisingly enough, some are better than others. At this point, I should mention that there are two ways you can interpret the one truck idea. You could have a fleet of multiple copies of your chosen truck, or you could have a single instance of your chosen truck. Both of these have one truck, but obviously one is easier, as with multiple of the same truck, you can have support vehicles, but with a single instance of one truck, it cannot be reliant on support vehicles, and you have to take it back to the garage every time you need to change the add-ons. We have to start looking beyond the theoretical capabilities of each truck and consider them in terms of actual use. As you can see, I have brought out the upgraded versions of these trucks, with what in my opinion is probably the best configuration for a one-truck challenge. I'm not going to explain every minor detail of each decision because that would take a very long time, but if you have questions, ask away in the comments. So let's go through them in order, starting with the Azov 5. It's fast and good off-road, and its stability is good, but it doesn't get crane plus bed plus trailer. The big downside of it is the high fuel consumption and small fuel tank. So if you have a fleet of Azov 5s, you can set some up with fuel tanks and make up for it. You can also use a crane to put a scout fuel trailer on the roof because it's so big and flat, but without a scout vehicle you can't buy those, so you have to go out and find a scout fuel trailer and have a crane with you. So with one Azov 5 you kind of have to have the loading crane and find a scout fuel trailer, which then means you can't have the bed and a normal trailer. Next up is the Azov 6. It's good off-road, decent on fuel, especially for its large fuel tank, and again can fit a scout fuel trailer on the roof. However, it's slow and not particularly stable, and again doesn't get crane plus bed plus trailer. The Azov 7 is probably my favourite of the three. It's good in mud, decent on fuel, really stable, surprisingly agile, and the roof is plenty big enough for a scout fuel trailer. The big issue with it is obviously the huge front overhang. While it will clip through some rocks and the active suspension races it higher off the ground, it may just get stuck in some places. Now we go to America for the next few, the Freightliner up first. There's not much to say about it. The fuel consumption is decent for its tank size. It can get crane plus bed plus trailer, but it's not the most stable and mud tyres are not an option, so it might not be up to the task of more difficult terrain. The GMC Brigadier has the most notable advantage of high ride height from the tuned custom suspension. It gets crane plus bed plus trailer, and is also quite powerful, but at the cost of less than great fuel economy at load, and it has a tendency to lift the nose up when pulling up hills, and it doesn't get mud tyres. The other GMC, the MH9500, is the only vehicle from the highway class to make it onto this list, which really just says that it shouldn't be in that class. It has good ground clearance, mid-fuel economy, and can get crane plus bed plus trailer, but the lack of mud tyres and relatively low weight will make it struggle in harsher conditions. The Paystar 5070 is one of fairly few American trucks to get mud tyres. It's fairly powerful, gets good fuel economy, and can have crane plus bed plus trailer, but it's not that stable and doesn't get very big tyres, so with heavier loads it may struggle. The Kenworth C500 is the newest addition to the game on this list. It has the advantage of a roof rack which increases the range, 2 spare wheels without the crane or crane plus bed plus trailer, and it's quite stable. But it doesn't get mud tyres, and the lack of suspension upgrades means the nose has a tendency to get caught on rocks. The Mack M917 also gets a roof rack, can also have crane plus bed plus trailer, and has good stability, gets mid fuel economy and good fuel tank size, along with mud tyres and active suspension for increased ground clearance. I really can't find anything major to fault with it. The first Taiga is the 6436, which gets the Taiga mud tyres, making it capable far off-road, but it doesn't have great fuel economy, and cannot even have crane plus bed, among other add-on compatibility issues, which personally I find to be a huge downside. The second Taiga is the 6455B, which I much prefer. It also gets the Taiga mud tyres and is very capable off-road, but it can get crane plus bed plus trailer, and gets 2 spare wheels with its cool roof rack. The fuel economy is alright, and there are no major problems with it. And finally, we come to the Zix 612H. This is the truck that I first thought of when considering this idea, due to its versatility and performance. It is incredibly stable, the tyres have incredible traction in mud, it has a vast fuel tank and service kit and roof rack, plus 2 spare wheels, giving it unmatched range and capability. The big problem is the front overhang is prone to getting caught on the ground, and the very wide wheelbase makes it weak to rocks, narrow roads and tight corners. From this analysis, we can come to some more subjective conclusions, and this is where it partly comes down to opinion and preferred playstyle. I'm not going to tier list these 12 trucks or anything like that, but I will give my top picks for both interpretations of the one truck challenge, based on my decent amount of experience with the game. Obviously you may disagree and I may have got some information wrong, but I hope to give a reasonable suggestion of the trucks you could use to complete the entire game with on their own. The Mack and the Taiga 6455B are definitely good picks for both the fleet of one truck and the one of one truck versions of the challenge, both having virtually no downsides. I would also be inclined to say that despite the overhang issues with the Azov 7 and the Zix, they are also strong options, particularly if you are only using one of them, as they are capable enough that you can probably find a way around terrain that they get caught on, and they have the range to not need support. The Freightliner and the GMCs are probably the weakest trucks for this challenge of the 12, due to the lack of mud tyres and relatively low weight, which will give them issues with heavy loads and objective semi-trailers in difficult conditions. The Azov 6 and Paystar are both decent for one of one, whereas the Azov 5 is not a good pick for that. I personally am not a fan of the Taiga 6436, as the lack of crane plus bed makes loose cargo collection missions more difficult, and the spare wheel plus crane puts the semi-saddle a bit too close for certain trailers. I don't have much experience with the Kenworth C500 because I recorded this video like a month ago, so I'm not sure how good it actually is yet, but I think if you can find a way around obstacles at the front, bumper hits like the Azov 7 and the Zix, it could be quite a good pick. Now I haven't actually done this challenge myself. There is a lot of content to do to complete the game, and I haven't even done it all in normal gameplay, so all of this for me is ultimately theoretical. If you want to have a go at this yourself, I would love to know how you get on, and if you want to see me try it, let me know in the comments. I would also like to give an honourable mention to the Step Pike for being the worst choice for completing the game with one truck, as it is too small to get either of the logging frames, yet can have a high saddle even though it is too small and light to be good at hauling the big semi-trailers. The fuel tank and water tanks are incompatible with the snorkel, and although it can technically have crane plus bed plus trailer, I would not recommend it. So if you want to play SnowRunner and only use one truck, the Mack M917 and the Taiga 6455B are the best of the best, and out of those two I'm honestly not sure which one I would choose to go with. But that is going to be it for this video, so thank you for watching, don't get distracted, go subscribe now, and until next time, goodbye.